Let me tell you, it's been several Mondays in a row, so I hope you can hear me now. We're coming to you live at lunch from the Ada County Courthouse. Chris from the WCA. It is live at lunch, the Wednesday edition. I usually come to you live on Monday, but you had the privilege of hearing from Laura because it was a holiday for a lot of people. We, of course, were at work at the WCA, but I have a special guest behind me, Emily from the Ada County Prosecutor's Office. I tell you, it's really fun to get to have Emily on the show with me because Emily and I are both CUNA girls. Few years between us, but we have some of the same people in our past. I want to say namely my favorite English teacher, who I think is your principal, high school principal, Carla Reynolds. So shout out to Carla. She does log in occasionally and watch, but yes, she was my high school English teacher. Awesome. Mrs. Reynolds, yes. So I give a shout out to her every so often. But yes, we're CUNA girls, so shout out to anybody from CUNA who might be watching back in our history. Back for me when CUNA was still very, very small. But I want to give a shout out to the Mayor Steer and all the other mayors in Ada County who have declared October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Because Emily was gracious enough to come join us last Monday, the 5th, as we came together to proclaim October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month with leaders across the valley, actually. You can see behind me, back here, the ceremonial proclamation with the mayor's signatures as well as Commissioner Lachiando. They came together and made that signature as we came together to let victims and survivors know that we are there for them. We are there for them from the WCA as a service provider. The prosecuting attorney's office is there for them when they need to prosecute their offenders, when they choose to do that, but they don't have to do that. We're there for them when they want to come forward and get help, when they decide to leave an abusive situation, and they want some help and some tools on their path to freedom. We came together with law enforcement, first responders, paramedics. We came together to let them know we are here for them. We hear them. They're not alone. This month, but all year round. And we know during this time of the pandemic, people are at home more often. And for some, that's great. They're spending more time with their families. We're all under a lot of stress. We're all maybe going a little crazy. But for those in abusive relationships or unhealthy relationships even, that is causing more stress. They're being isolated from friends and family, from classmates, from coworkers, maybe not even going to the gym, not going to church as much. But if they're in an abusive situation, that is placing them in increased danger, increased stress. And we know by the numbers we're seeing, at least at the WCA, our calls related to domestic abuse have more than doubled on a weekly basis. We have experienced triple the emergency intakes into shelters since the beginning of March when we compare that to all of 2019 put together. So that's the increased risk of lethality and physical danger, triple the number emergency intakes into our domestic violence shelters. So if you look at what I'm wearing, I am wearing my Justice League shirt. This is my WCA Justice League shirt. The Justice League is something we normally get to come together and have fun doing. It's a softball tournament. It's something we've been able to do since 2015. And I'm going to let Emily talk a little bit about that. But we're celebrating virtually this year because, our leadership's all just decided that wasn't quite safe. But it's something we have to come together and do with the paramedics and the sheriff's office and do something together that's fun, and they do it to raise money to support our services. So with that, I'm going to step aside so that I'm physically distanced and I'm safe, and I'm going to turn it over to my really great friend Emily from the prosecuting attorney's office and let her share with you some of the things they're saying, some of the things they're doing, and to talk a little bit about the Justice League that started in 2015 with the challenge between the Ada County prosecuting attorney and the Ada County sheriff. So, take it away, Emily.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so excited to be here. So, like Chris said, my name is Emily Lowe, and I'm the Public Information Officer for the Prosecutor's Office. So I'll first tell you guys a little bit about why we're wearing these shirts today. Like Chris mentioned, we can't have our softball tournament in person today, so we're talking about it on social media and sharing old videos. But in 2015, our prosecutor, Jan Bennett, challenged Sheriff Steve Bartlett to a softball game. And this grew. The Women's and Children's Alliance has been hosting it every year, and the paramedics also join. And what we do is we raise awareness for crimes, and we also for preventing crimes. We have we also do the fundraiser to allow the WCA to support the victims of those crimes. And so the reason I'm wearing blue, this is the Prosecutor's Office jersey color. We wear this for child abuse prevention. The Sheriff's Office wears orange for teen dating violence awareness. And the paramedics wear purple for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. As you know, that's this month. And so I think what's so awesome about it is we all get together, we're raising awareness, it's fun, we're building camaraderie, we're having this fun little competition, but it's a lot more than that. Every agency that comes together, we all play a role, and we have a little piece of providing victims the services that they need to get the resources and the assistance that's going to set them up to be successful. And I think that that's just so important to recognize and honor. And even though we can't do that in person, I mean, we're doing that every single day together. So I know the Prosecutor's Office is really thankful for all of those partnerships. So it's one of the reasons why I'm really excited to be here today. And also, it's not just about playing softball, but the reason why we're doing this, it's relevant. These crimes are happening in our community every day. They're happening nationally. They're happening in our neighborhoods. And for the Prosecutor's Office, in the last 3 years, from 2017 to 2019, we had a 49% increase in child abuse crimes. We had a 40% increase in attempted strangulation cases, and we have a 31% increase in domestic violence cases. So we've seen that increase. I don't have the numbers for 2020 this year to compare to the last year's, but as Chris already mentioned, and you've all probably seen in the news, local victim advocacy groups are reporting seeing increases to their services and an increased need. And so, you know, this is always relevant. It's always important. And we all need to work together to make sure that we're helping people and providing everybody the services that they need. And I guess I'd also like to touch on how cool I think it is that the pandemic has really messed up a lot of things. Obviously, it's made it hard for everyone, but I think it's been really neat to see how everybody's adapted. With the WCA doing live at lunches, I think that's a really great way to still connect with people. And for our office specifically, we've had to go to a virtual platform. So we do video hearings now. If you heard that, we do video hearings now. And that's kind of impacted how our victim witness unit works with victims, but we're still able to provide all the services that we were before this pandemic. And so it's really cool. Now we have a private area set up with a computer, and the victims get to meet with their victim witness coordinator. They get to watch the hearing via video, and they get to ask questions, and that's not normal. So it's normal to ask questions, but it's different because when you're in the courtroom, you can't ask questions while you're watching the court. So what's cool is with the video is if victims don't understand something, they can ask their coordinator right then and there, what did that mean? And they also still get to give impact statements via virtual hearings, and I feel like that is still really a positive for victims. So that is all that I have, but I can answer any questions or add anything that Chris thinks would be great.
No, I just want to say thank you, Emily, for joining us. We just take a few minutes every Monday and Wednesday to come to you live and try to stay engaged. I can help facilitate any questions that you might have. You can always email us at outreach@wcaboise.org. We stay connected with Emily and her team as we all work together to provide services for those being impacted in our community. We'd love to have Emily back. I think we'll plan to have Emily back. And we're going to try to find a little bit better space that you might be able to hear us better. So shoot us your questions. We're going to keep this up on our Facebook page. So make comments. We'll be watching. We'll be answering. We'd love to come to you in your place of business. We have virtual educational opportunities. And we can answer questions and address. We will be working together in our community to work to break the cycle of domestic abuse and sexual assault. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, And each of you in your own way can work together in a little way. Just start a conversation. If you are worried about someone, reach out to them. If you haven't heard from them in a while. We are in the middle of a pandemic and things are different. We are all living our lives differently. But if their behavior has changed, if you haven't heard from them in a while, if you can't see them, if they may not have access to their phone, domestic violence isn't always violent. It isn't always physical violence that you can see. There are many, many different ways. Threatening children, threatening pets, controlling who you see, intentionally hurting you. These are all domestic abuse. And sometimes those scars can last longer than a physical injury. So if you're worried about someone, reach out to the WCA 208-343-7025 is our 24-hour hotline. We are all here for you. Your law enforcement partners, our partners in the Ada County Courthouse at the WCA, again, 208-343-7025. It's a 24-hour hotline. It's anonymous. It's answered by trained client advocates with information and resources for you. If it's you that needs help, or if you're worried about somebody, please call that number. Write it down, pass it along to somebody, and if they're not ready for those information and resources, don't give up on them. Just keep it there. Offer resources, a ride somewhere, a couch to sleep on, drop by groceries. Just keep offering, keep connecting, because if someone is in that situation, it has to be their decision and they have to be ready to make a move. And it's not easy, especially if there's children involved, if there's money involved. And don't forget, above all, people don't get involved with people unless there is love and there's feelings, and that's always difficult to unravel. So again, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We appreciate you taking the time to join us for Live at Lunch. If there's something you'd like to hear about, a topic you'd like us to talk about, let us know. Again, outreach at wcaboise.org. We would love to come to you and talk to you about it. As we learn to craft our lives and live our lives just a little bit differently right now. But we're still in the beautiful Treasure Valley, where there's lots of great things to think about and do each and every day. So, Emily, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I'm just so glad to be here today, and like Chris said, I'm just echoing the partnerships that we have with everyone. We're really glad to have them. And yeah, with that, we're good. Thank you so much.